Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the ultimate diplomat's playbook. You really have to forget what you might think you know about program management. It isn't just about Gantt charts, timelines, and budgets. No, what we're actually talking about here is the high-stakes art of influence. When you're running a massive, complex program, you aren't just managing tasks, right? You're managing human nature. You're stepping right into a diplomatic arena where the success or utter failure of your entire mission literally hinges on how effectively you can shape and guide the people around you. So think about it for a second. What derails a perfect program fastest? Is it a sudden budget cut? A massive technical glitch? Maybe a breakdown in the supply chain? Well, sure, those things hurt, absolutely. But the absolute fastest, most catastrophic way a beautifully planned program goes right off a cliff, it's a failure in human dynamics. It's that executive who pulls their support at the 11th hour, or it's the regulatory body that blocks your launch just because they weren't consulted. It's the end users who flat out refuse to adopt the new system. The things that derail us fastest aren't technical at all. They are fundamentally human. Okay, let's dive into this, because this totally changes the entire paradigm of what a program manager actually is. Basically, you are a diplomat. Your main job is to balance wildly conflicting interests and somehow forge alignment out of total chaos. And how do you pull that off? Through persuasion, negotiation, and honestly, a really heavy dose of empathy. I mean, think about it. A real-world diplomat doesn't force sovereign nations to agree by just yelling at them, right? They listen, they find common ground, and they negotiate mutually beneficial outcomes. As a program manager, you are doing the exact same thing, just in a corporate ecosystem instead of the United Nations. First up, we're looking at the art of influence. And to practice that art, you're going to need the diplomat's toolkit. Because look, spreadsheets do exactly what you tell them to do. They follow formulas. People? Yeah, they definitely do not. Humans are complex, they're emotionally driven, and they're motivated by their own unique goals. To succeed here, you've got to transition from this mindset of administrative control to a mindset of strategic influence. Your real power doesn't come from your title or your project charter. It comes from your ability to influence others to willingly row in the exact same direction. And just like a seasoned ambassador wouldn't walk into a crucial peace summit without, mapping out the geopolitical landscape first, you can't walk into a major initiative blindly. You need practical, tactical tools to map out this complex terrain of people who hold the keys to your success. Using our diplomatic metaphor, your stakeholder ecosystem is made up of diverse foreign nations. You've got your executives, hyper-focused on ROI and strategy. You've got your customers, who really only care about usability and value. Then there are regulators, speaking that rigid language of compliance and risk. And of course, your employees, the ones actually doing the work, who are mostly worried about disruptions to their daily lives. If you try to speak the exact same language to all four of these groups, you're going to fail. They each have distinct motivations, distinct fears, and totally different definitions of what success actually looks like. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is how you actually solve that translation problem. You use a power interest grid, which is essentially a foundational tool in the diplomat's toolkit. By plotting your stakeholders based on how much power they have to affect your program versus how much interest they have in the outcome, you instantly know exactly how to engage them. You don't treat everyone equally because, well, not everyone has equal influence. A high-power, high-interest stakeholder, they need active management and constant partnership. But a low-power, low-interest stakeholder, they might just need to be monitored. This grid dictates your tailored communication strategy, making sure you're spending your valuable diplomatic capital exactly where it yields the absolute highest return. Moving right along to part 3, high-stakes scenarios. So we've talked about the theory, but let's look at the incredible drama of what actually happens when you put this into practice, or, when you fail to. And this brilliantly illustrates the point. The consequences of ignoring your diplomatic playbook are severe, but the rewards of mastering it are massive. On one hand, we have this total nightmare scenario, ignoring a critical stakeholder. Imagine launching a massive new software platform, but totally forgetting to engage the frontline employees who are going to use it every single day. What happens? They rebel, adoption flatlines, millions of dollars are wasted. Boom, program derailed. But contrast that with the alternative, proactive engagement. By bringing those frontline employees in early, actually listening to their concerns, and adapting the tool to their needs, you build immense trust. When launch day comes, you don't face resistance. You experience accelerated adoption. Same program, entirely different outcomes, based 100% on human engagement. And that brings us to a really defining idea: balancing conflicting interests and creating alignment. This is the ultimate goal, right here. A proactive program manager doesn't just run away from conflict, they step right into the middle of it. When the regulatory team wants a process to be slower and safer, but the executive team is pushing for it to be faster and cheaper, the diplomat finds the harmony. You literally create a path forward where both sides feel heard and where the program can advance without leaving a massive trail of burned bridges behind you. Which leads us to our final section, the continuous dialogue. Let's move on to this and see how this builds, because one of the biggest traps in program management is treating stakeholder engagement like a simple box to be checked off during the kickoff phase. You know the vibe. Okay, I did my stakeholder mapping, now I can completely ignore them and get back to work. No way. Engagement is an ongoing negotiation, and this dialogue has to build across the entire life of your program. Step 1, you map the stakeholders. Step 2, you tailor your communication to their specific power and interest levels. But step 3 is the real kicker. You absolutely have to evolve with the program phases. A stakeholder who had super low interest during the planning phase might suddenly have incredibly high interest during execution when their specific department is hit. Your dialogue has to be dynamic. A true diplomat is always talking, always listening, and constantly adjusting their strategy as the landscape shifts.
So, we are bringing it all back to these 3 core concepts: persuasion, negotiation, empathy. Listen, these are not just fluffy, soft skills. In the context of a massive, complex program, these are the hardest, most critical skills you could possibly possess. These are your real-world tools. You persuade the skeptics, you negotiate with the resistors, and you use deep empathy to truly understand the fears and motivations of everyone involved. This is how you master the art of influence.
I really want to leave you with this one thought. If stakeholder engagement is truly a continuous dialogue, what are you saying to your stakeholders today? Are you proactively building alliances right now, or are you just waiting for a crisis to force you to the negotiating table? Take a minute. Think about your own diplomatic strategies. Take a hard look at your ecosystem and ask yourself, who do you need to go build a bridge with right now?